Streetball. It's a different game. It's played on the blacktop, where creativity is king and the rules are fluid. It's a game where humiliating your opponent with a dazzling move is just as important as scoring. It's a world away from the structured, team-oriented environment of the NBA. You'd think a streetballer could never survive in the pros, right? Well, what if I told you there was one player who was so good, he did the impossible? A player who didn't just make it to the NBA, but humiliated professional defenders with the exact same moves he used on the playground. This is the story of Rafer Alston, the legend known as Skip to My Lou. Our story begins in 1989 in Jamaica, Queens, New York. A 13-year-old Rafer Alston was growing up in the middle of one of the worst drug epidemics in American history. For a young kid, just walking down the street to play basketball was a massive risk, but it never stopped him. Rafer spent his days dreaming of hearing his name called in the NBA draft, spending hours on the concrete courts of New York, trying to replicate the moves of his idol, Isaiah Thomas. Then one day, everything changed. Rafer and his best friend, a young Stephon Marbury, went down to the legendary Rucker Park, the mecca of street basketball, to watch the high-level games. On that day, a local high school coach named Ron Naclerio was down 2 players and was about to forfeit his game. Naclerio spotted the 2 familiar faces in the crowd and, in desperation, put them on his team. They sat on the bench, just ecstatic to be close to the action, until the starters needed a rest. When Rafer finally entered the game, he unleashed a stunning repertoire of incredible moves against grown men. The court announcer, shocked by what he was seeing, grabbed his microphone and yelled, "This kid is the Energizer." The following summer, the Energizer became a Rucker Park regular. The now 14-year-old was pulling out move after insane move, and he decided he wanted to give the audience something they had never seen before. He was so spectacular that the announcer was moved to give him a new name, one that would become legendary in the basketball world: Skip to My Lou. But while Skip to My Lou was dominating the streets, Rafer Alston was struggling in another area of his life. He and his friends didn't just idolize basketball players, they also looked up to local drug kingpins. Rafer grew up in extreme poverty. His father was a victim of the substance abuse epidemic, and his older brother was in jail. To get by, Rafer was often out until the early hours of the morning playing dice, sometimes earning himself $1,500 in a single night. This lifestyle had consequences. He would often wake up late and, facing a 2-bus journey to Benjamin Cardoza High School, he frequently missed classes for days on end. His attendance record was so poor that despite his immense talent, averaging 33 points a game, he was academically ineligible to play for most of his junior and senior seasons, appearing in only 10 games total. While his friend Stephon Marbury was receiving recruitment letters from major Division I colleges, Rafer would check his own mailbox every day, only to find it empty. The streetball legend was a basketball outcast, and his dream of making it to the next level was already slipping away. With his Division I dreams dashed by his own actions, Rafer Alston's career should have been over. But his talent was too undeniable to ignore completely. Out in California, a junior college coach named Philip Matthews from Ventura County received a VHS tape from New York. Intrigued, he played the tape and was shocked that the player he was watching wasn't being recruited by major colleges. Philip knew he had to take a chance. Under Coach Matthews, Rafer was forced to change. In his first game, he scored only 2 points, but that was the plan. Matthews wanted to see the other side of Skip to My Lou, and Rafer delivered, recording 13 assists. He led Ventura to a California state title and was named the tournament MVP. But had he really changed? Shortly after their championship season, his scholarship was revoked. His grades in psychology were excellent, but his truancy continued. Rafer was right back where he started. His absolute final chance came from a coaching legend, Jerry Tarkanian of Fresno State, a Division I college. Tarkanian needed a point guard, and he saw the potential in Rafer, but he had one condition. Rafer had to spend a full year at another junior college, Fresno City, and focus entirely on fixing his off-the-court issues. Understanding this was his last shot to turn his life around. Rafer dominated the classroom. He attended every single class and steadily improved his grades. Tarkanian kept his promise, and Rafer Alston was finally on the roster of a Division I team, one step away from his childhood dream. While proving he was an NBA-level point guard at Fresno State, Rafer's fame exploded in another arena. A new brand called N1, which sold t-shirts geared toward streetball players, saw one of his tapes and knew they had found their star. Rafer became the face of the N1 mixtape tour, traveling the country and showcasing a unique style of basketball that was all about creativity and embarrassment. He was now a legitimate NBA prospect and the most famous streetballer on the planet. But with NBA executives watching his every move, was this the best decision? On June 24, 1998, Rafer sat in a restaurant in Los Angeles on NBA draft night. He was confident. The Lakers' general manager, Jerry West, had seen him play a lot and had invited him for 2 private workouts. Rafer assumed the Lakers would call his name. But the 26th pick came, and the Lakers selected someone else. Still, he wasn't bothered. His real hometown team, the New York Knicks, also needed a backup point guard and had been scouting him since he was 13. But the Knicks pick came, and again, his name wasn't called. The truth was, NBA teams were terrified of his past. He had been involved in a domestic violence incident and had failed to attend his mandatory anger management classes, resulting in potential jail time. Teams wanted Rafer Alston, the point guard, but they were afraid of getting Skip to My Lou, the street kid with a troubled history. The draft went to a commercial break, and Rafer sat alone, upset and defeated. But once the broadcast returned, his life changed. With a 10th pick in the second round, the Milwaukee Bucks selected Rafer Alston from Fresno State. His dream was still alive, but his fight was just beginning. Being drafted into the NBA should have been the greatest moment of Rafer Alston's life, but it quickly became a nightmare. Despite selecting him, the Milwaukee Bucks decided not to offer him a contract for the 1998 to 1999 season. This left him unable to pay a $25,000 fine he was required to donate to a women's shelter, and as a result, Rafer Alston spent what should have been his rookie season serving 90 days in jail. As he lay in his cell, he reflected on all the other New York streetball legends, like Pee Wee Kirkland, who had been picked by an NBA team but had never actually played on an NBA floor. He knew he had to make a dramatic change if he was ever going to achieve his dream. Once he was out, he decided to play in the NBA's development league for the Idaho Stampede. His goal wasn't to show off. Instead, Rafer knew he had to prove to the entire league that he was capable of being Rafer Alston, the reliable point guard, because it was clear to him that the flashy image of Skip to My Lou had been etched into the brains of NBA executives. His steady play worked. Right before the next season, the Bucks signed him to a 2-year deal. But he was on a team coached by George Karl, whose focus was on competing for a championship, and there was little playing time for a developing point guard. When the starting point guard was injured, Rafer showed glimpses of who he could be, scoring 14 points against the Kings and having 2 10-assist games. But it wasn't enough. The Bucks chose not to re-sign him, and after the Golden State Warriors signed and then cut him just before the next season, his career was on life support. He returned to the D-League, his dream hanging by a thread. His final chance came from Lenny Wilkens, another point guard from New York who was the head coach of the Toronto Raptors. Wilkens saw something no one else did and signed Rafer to a 10-day contract, knowing this was his last opportunity to prove he belonged. Rafer seized it. He dropped 17 points in his debut game and had 11 assists in his third. Toronto had found a diamond in the rough and signed him for the remainder of the season. He had finally achieved his lifelong dream. He was a legitimate NBA point guard. In the final 3 games of that season, he was made the starter and put up astonishing numbers, averaging over 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. His performance earned him a contract with the Miami Heat, where legendary executive Pat Riley saw his potential. Under coach Stan Van Gundy, Rafer got a chance to showcase a skill no one knew he had: shooting. After hitting a game winner against Dallas, he said, "I've been working on it. No one gives me respect in this league yet." Thanks to his contributions, the Heat made the playoffs, where he played a vital bench role, hitting big shots in their first-round victory. However, in the second round, his minutes took a dive, and the Heat were eliminated by the Indiana Pacers. This left Rafer with a huge decision. The Heat were interested in keeping him as a backup, and they were about to trade for the most dominant big man in the league, Shaquille O'Neal. But another team was offering him a guaranteed 6-year contract and a starting point guard role. He could stay in Miami and likely compete for a championship, or he could take the starting job and finally run a team of his own. Rafer Alston was at a crossroads: be a role player on a championship team or the star of his own. He chose the latter, signing a 6-year contract to become the starting point guard for the Toronto Raptors. For the first time, he had the freedom to truly express himself, averaging over 14 points and 6 assists while wowing fans and embarrassing defenders with his Skip to My Lou flair. However, the team won only 33 games, and Rafer, now with higher ambitions, requested a trade to a team with championship intentions. He got his wish, landing with the Houston Rockets to be the floor general for superstars Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming. There, he showcased his often overlooked elite passing, dissecting defenses with the same flash he used at Rucker Park. But the team was cursed by injuries to its stars, and despite a historic 22-game winning streak, they repeatedly failed in the playoffs. Then, halfway through the 2009 season, his career changed forever. The Orlando Magic, a true championship contender, lost their all-star point guard, Jameer Nelson, to a shoulder injury. Their coach, Stan Van Gundy, had coached Rafer in Miami and knew exactly who to call. Rafer Alston was traded to the Magic, finally getting his chance to lead a healthy, contending team deep into the playoffs. The critics were loud, questioning if a street baller could really guide a team to a title. Rafer answered them immediately. He led the Magic to a first-round victory over Philadelphia. Their next opponent was the defending NBA champions, the Boston Celtics. After getting suspended for a game for slapping an opponent, Rafer returned with a vengeance, using his incredible basketball IQ to find open shooters and thread impossible passes, leading the Magic to a stunning Game 7 victory. In the Eastern Conference Finals, they faced LeBron James, the league's MVP. Despite a historic performance from LeBron, Rafer's calm leadership and timely shot-making led Orlando to another massive upset. Against all odds, the street baller from Queens had taken his team to the NBA Finals. There, they met a Los Angeles Lakers team led by a possessed Kobe Bryant, who was on a mission to win his first title without Shaquille O'Neal. Kobe was unstoppable, dropping 40 points in Game 1, and the Magic quickly found themselves down 2-0. The world turned against Rafer, believing he wasn't a championship-level point guard. Facing a potential sweep in Game 3, Rafer knew something had to change. Skip to My Lou finally showed up, using the exact same moves he perfected at Rucker Park to spin and cross his way to 20 points, saving the Magic from certain death. But in the end, Kobe was too much, and the Lakers crushed Orlando's dream. Even in defeat, Rafer had proven himself. But with Jameer Nelson returning, the Magic traded him to the lowly New Jersey Nets. Now 33, Rafer knew his window for a title was closing, so he got a buyout and returned to Miami. But his role slowly vanished until he was benched completely. Frustrated, Rafer texted the coach that he was no longer interested in playing for the team and was suspended for the rest of the season. He spent all summer waiting for his agent to call with an offer from another team, but the phone remained silent. Just like that, his NBA career was over. He would officially retire 2 years later, ending his career as the only player in history to successfully transition from a pure streetball icon to a legitimate NBA floor general. He was more than just a fancy ball handler. He was a leader capable of dissecting a defense, who took his team to basketball's biggest stage, doing something no one ever thought was possible.